The Behind Ears podcast crew would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support. Do you have a little one and need a stroller for your next Disney vacation? Then Kingdom Strollers has the stroller for you. They've got a great variety of well-maintained strollers that fit any need. Go to their website and check out the City Mini Double, the City Mini Single, or any one of their wide selection of great strollers. They also have crib and bedding rental as well. During every one of my Disney vacations, I can't go a couple of minutes without seeing a happy young guest in a Kingdom stroller that is followed by a parent that knows they made a great stroller rental decision. Want to see how Kingdom Strollers can help you? Go to their website at kingdomstrollers.com. That's kingdomstrollers.com. This is Mr. Chris, and I love a good cup of coffee anytime throughout the day. In fact, I like my coffee hot or cold, brewed in my single-serve pod coffee maker or in a French press. I even like my coffee both iced and even cold brewed. Regardless of how I decide to enjoy my Java, there is only one Java that I truly enjoy, and that is Expedition Roasters. Not only do I love their traditional brews such as Route 66 Tire Fix and Dark Side Roast, I love their flavors such as Bob Slitter's Brew, Charming Chocolate Cherry, and Happily Never After. To me, their coffees are never bitter, and I enjoyed every flavor I've ever tried. And did you know that Expedition Roasters also carries some of their flavors in decaf? They're perfect for that afternoon cup. You also have to check out their different teas as well, which are great hot or iced. Behind Ears podcast listeners have 2 different coupon codes that you can use as well for when you stock up. Use EARS20 for 20% off that first order. Returning customers can use EARS10 for 10% off subsequent orders as well. When you're ready to enjoy the best in pop culture inspired coffee and teas, check out expeditionroasters.com. To you live from our studios on the East Coast and in the Midwest, it's the Behind Ears podcast, because everybody does Disney differently.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Ears Podcast. I am Uncle Danny. That is Mr. Chris. We are Behind the Ears Podcast. We go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Facebook and YouTube. You can catch all our podcasts anywhere a podcast is caught, and don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. With that being said, welcome to the show. Mr. Chris, how are you, sir?
Oh, I am doing fine. Thank you for asking. I mean, it's getting to that point where it is become fall here in the Midwest. I don't know about you, but the leaves are changing. The weather is getting kind of cold, but that's okay. Not really a big whoop-de-doo of a deal.
So what do we have on slate for today?
Well, we're going to try something a little bit different. This is obviously a little bit of a derivative of what some people have done in the past. We're going to try something called always, sometimes, never. Now, some people might recognize the theme of this sort of thing. This is when Danny and I are going to talk about some things that we always do, sometimes do, or never do. Now, we're going to obviously do this in a little bit of somewhat of an order, and I'd like to have both of us actually give some description as to why we feel the way that we feel for some of these things. And we would love to also hear what our listening audience would also have to say as well. So it is one of those cases. So let's go ahead and let's start with our first category, and that is transportation. Now, more specifically, at the parks, transportation. Now, granted, it might be a little bit limited. What is something that you would always do, sometimes do, never do? Let's start with the always do. And Danny, what is one form of Disney transportation that I guess you can call your favorite?
Uber. I know that doesn't count.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's a very fair comment. And to be very honest, especially after this last trip with you, I mean, I've liked Uber and even dare I say minivans, but you are the king of Uber.
I wouldn't say it's cheap, because I mean it is still like $10 with a tip, but it's there's something. I always look at it when I go on vacation. I'm usually on vacation from work, which means I'm getting paid anyway. But I can always make more money when I get home. I cannot make more time while I'm in Disney. So you might say, well, what does it save you? And another 40 minutes, one way. Well, you're talking about 80 minutes in a day. You're still talking about an hour and 20 minutes extra I get while everybody else is schlepping around trying to use Disney transportation. So
yeah, I would probably say I have to agree. The thing is, there are some places that have better transportation options than others in sense of their from resort.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to take an Uber from Poly to Magic Kingdom. No,
but at the same time, there are some places that even have better bus service than others as well. Granted, there were some, I think the cases that we took it from the resort was purely justified because we looked at some of those lines and said, hashtag nope. Yeah. It just wasn't gonna do it for us. So I would also, I have to agree. I think that's a good way to start off for me. And always, I'm going to say I'm always a bus guy, but you'll understand once I get more into the sometimes and never a bit. Um, but I would probably say, most places that I stay at, it's bus transportation only, like Saratoga, Animal Kingdom Lodge. Most of the value resorts, when I dare I say go to a value resort. And mainly I think it's because I don't have a problem with them. I don't have a problem with those resorts. But my family and I have always, I guess you could say that we've always tried to make it a game as to, how long is it going to be? Or nowadays, what's the character going to be on the side of the bus? Now that you've seen some of those new wrap buses,
Yeah.
And supposedly on the inside, there's some upgrades as well with USB chargers, etc. for some of them. I think that's just a nice, it's just a nice way to kind of get those buses spruced up a bit. I don't have any problem with them at all. So I think those are pretty cool options there. So, so let's go ahead and hit a sometimes. For you, what is your sometimes mode of transportation?
The boat.
The boat.
If you any type of boat, if you weren't gonna let me use Uber, the boat would have been my always. It's always less crowded. Always a nice seat for me to sit after a long day. It's always nice and refreshing, and you have a nice little bit of breeze, and it's calming. Yeah, it's slow, but to me, it just even if it's slower, it just feels quicker than waiting online for a bus. So I always would I would say my sometimes / always would have to be the boats.
And I would probably say my sometimes is going to be, well, you already said Uber. So I'm going to say my sometimes is going to be an Uber or even a minivan. And allow me to elaborate on the whole minivan thing. I used to be a big fan of the minivan.
Too expensive.
Ever since they changed the pricing schema, I have limited it to two times. Once was I surprised my wife for a night out and started it off with a minivan, which she was really surprised about, which, made her happy. And hey, let's face it, when my wife is happy, everybody's happy.
Happy wife, happy life.
Absolutely. There is a lot to that. And I'm waiting for her to come knocking on my door and, probably either agreeing with me or she's going to hit me upside the head. The thing of it is that the other time is that there was all of us together. And I say all of us, it was me, Kathy, John, Verge, Casey. There's 5 of us, and getting a minivan at that time was not that much more than a big Uber, and it was more availability. Sometimes you got to play that game as to find out what's better, so to speak. And at that time, we were trying to get into Toy Story Land when it first opened, so there was some benefit of being able to be a part of Disney transportation still to a certain extent. But now I would probably say, if I have to always say and always, if I had the option, it's going to be this option right here. I don't know if you saw this, but it's Uber with Chris. It's much more convenient than minivan, plus cheaper. Heck, I would much rather buy Chris a really nice meal at the Wave, for Ubering, so to speak, than anything else. But for us, that's a sometimes bit. I will sometimes do Uber. I will sometimes do, even less than, do a minivan. There's got to be a time or a place for it. And that's why I'm making that my sometimes. All right. Never.
This is tough. This is tough.
It is one of those things. I have an answer. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I will never take a taxi.
Oh, that's interesting.
I will never take a taxi. And, it's just one of those things where I just don't think I would ever want to take a taxi, especially since I could take an Uber. And the last time my wife took a taxi from the Contemporary to, I think it was Old Key West, it was definitely expensive and it was a scary ride, as she put it. So
I don't know. A couple of the Uber guys we had the last time were pretty scary.
I wouldn't necessarily scary. I would say they drove briskly,
Yeah.
but it was a really comfy car.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you played good music, really nice, relaxing music. Maybe to take away from the fact that he was driving briskly.
My never is tough. I don't really have a never because every situation in Disney is very different. So to me, it's gonna be a tie between the bus and the monorail. I thoroughly hate the monorail. They smell, they stink, they break down, they're slow. It's just when you're at certain places, the convenience of it. Outside of like taking it with Lindsay to do the I wanted to take her into Epcot to show her like driving through what the flowers look like from above. Unless I'm at one of the monorail resorts, and I'm going to Magic Kingdom, then okay, 1, 2, 3, I hop on. But I'll tell you what, when the park closes, the monorail line is ridiculous.
It is
long. And you gotta stand walking up that hill and you gotta wait and you miss monorail after monorail. I hate it. Same thing with the bus. I usually always have to give up my seat on the bus, which is whatever. I don't mind standing. It's just the waiting. And that's my biggest problem with Disney overall. And it's a first world problem, don't get me wrong, but I hate waiting for things.
Yeah, I could see that. Actually, it's interesting. We're talking about this. Monica brings up a really good question. In general, how far of a walk to Uber pickup versus bus stops? It really depends on where.
Uber is 99% of the time closer. The only place it's not is the Springs.
Or over at the Magic Kingdom because they.
Oh, yeah, you got to walk over to the Contemporary. You're right. Yeah,
but I will agree. The Springs is kind of inconvenient. Because, man, I was really surprised when we got dropped off there. I'm like, dude, now we got to hike. It was a hike.
And now, when they finish doing everything down there, that actually might be a great spot if you're heading to Splitsville and everything.
A very good point. But again, we have to wait for some growing pains to happen first. And of course, if anybody's wondering, if you take an Uber, their default is going to be go to the TTC if you're going to the Magic Kingdom. Little tip, have them go to the Contemporary instead, and then just take a monorail or walk over. It's a very short walk to the Magic Kingdom, and it actually works out, works out really pretty well. I don't really see any issue with that. And at the same time, I would probably venture to say that it works, works well for Hollywood Studios, because that actually drops you off pretty much right across from where the Skyliner is. I haven't taken an Uber to Animal Kingdom yet, and Epcot, it's not well right now. The front of Epcot is a little bit discombobulated, but it's not that bad of a jaunt.
So, side note,
yeah,
I had to go throw my phone on the charger because I was at 1%, and that's why I had gotten up. And I walk into my bedroom, and Lindsay looks at me. She goes, "You're talking on the phone. How are you standing here?" Because she's watching the show on her phone. She didn't realize that there was a delay. I was like, I'm Houdini.
Nice.
All right. So what's the next topic we're moving to?
Okay. So I would probably say, let's try something a little bit more challenging. Okay. And the reason I say challenging is because I think for me and you, this is probably a little more obscure. And this goes to some of our favorite shopping places. Okay. Now, when I say shopping, because, hey, guys, we're not usually the shoppers, but I know you and I, we went to Disney Springs. We went to the World of Disney. We kind of walked around a little bit. And I know that we also love going to Mouse Gear and things like that, but it's a little challenging for us guys. We are not the shopping type. But I do like to look for that really cool shirt or something like that. So let's say an always place that you stop to at least look.
Mouse Gears and Epcot. Yeah, because my next one will be my sometimes, but it's really basically always and always. But Mouse Gear's biggest complaint with it is it's a bottleneck in so many spots. And it gets really clustered up there in the kids section. Not having kids to me is oversized. I think they could have added more in other spots. But clothing wise, if you're looking for clothing wise, I don't think anything beats Mouse Gears. They will have everything from whatever festivals going on to ties, socks, shirts, women's blouses, sweatshirts, hats. If they don't have it, no one else will have it.
You make a good point. You make a really good point about the idea that Mouse Gear has a lot of the things from the festivals. Those things you're not necessarily going to find them outside of the parks, specifically Epcot for the festivals. You're not going to find them at World of Disney. I learned that a long time ago, kind of by forceful accident, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those cases where I ended up having to run into Epcot just to shop for a minute on our last day one time. But I will say that my always is also going to be Mouse Gear, because they have got everything that I think I normally like to look for.
Mm-hmm.
Watches, shirts, and dare I even say they've got a really good selection of hats as well. Mary puts it well right there. Mouse Gear just has the best stuff, and I think my wife really likes them for the selection of Doonies that are usually there as well.
All right, so I will say I would agree with that statement 90%. Well, I will say is when I move into my sometimes, there's a reason for it. My sometimes is World of Disney at Disney Springs.
Okay.
And the reason I like that one is there are a lot of clothes, not a lot of theme park clothes, a lot of like gimmicky shirts and everything, but what they have is a larger selection houseware stuff than Mouse Gears.
They do. I will say that. And I you're kind of tipping your hat to something though. You're a kitchen person, aren't you? You love kitchen stuff. I
like knickknacks. Ask Lindsay. I like to hoard knickknacks.
Knickknacks. And there's nothing like a knickknack that is actually like you can use.
Oh, if it's something random and unique. Okay. So we have a big festival in the town. It was actually where I proposed to Lindsay this year. The year before, I got this. Makes no sense. It's a map of something. It says Cape May County, New Jersey, but it's not a logo of our state. There's a boat, some nautical stuff, and then it's just like copper. It's a coaster. Super thick. Don't know why I bought it. It was something that was like, this is neat. And I bought it. So I'm a big knickknack person.
Now the funny part is that Michelle actually mentioned something here. I just caught.
I'm trying to get the camera back in focus.
Oh, no problem. My wife is a big KitchenAid person. Michelle asked the question: does KitchenAid make a Disney stand mixer? No, they don't. But there's a lot of people that have taken it upon themselves to take their KitchenAid and paint it and do a custom paint job. And if you do it right, it could come out extraordinarily well. One of these days, I think I'm going to do that with my wife's KitchenAid. Oh crap. She's probably watching. So I guess I can't. That looks clear to me, by the way.
Does it? It's blurry on mine, but it could be my eyes. I don't have my glasses on.
No, very true. So I'm contemplating actually doing a Disney treatment to her KitchenAid because she is a KitchenAid freak. For me, my sometimes is so my biggest sometimes that I really enjoy going to, and I'm going to use this a little bit of a blanket statement, resort shops. And the reason why I say that that's a sometimes is because sometimes you're in a resort that has got some really awesome things. If you go to, I think it's called Johari Treasures over at Animal Kingdom Lodge Jumbo House. It has got some exquisite, African inspired pieces of art of one sort or another. Great different, great lines of clothes and so on. If you go to the Grand Floridian, they've got some very nice upscale shops as well. So there's some nice things that you can actually pick up there, especially if you're a collector of certain things like jewelry or watches or whatever like that. I really do enjoy the different shops at the different resorts. They're not all created equal, but I will say that, well, example, you can shop at the Polynesian and they've got just a lot of really awesome things. The boardwalk has got some nice.
It's funny you say that because that was going to be a notable mention. Not all, but a lot of the resorts have really cool stuff. I don't like any of the values. To me, it's all gimmicky stuff. I wasn't a fan of any of that stuff. But what was it? Wilderness Lodge. If you're big into camping in the wilderness, great stuff. If you're beachy, the beach club, the yacht club, great stuff. Poly, if you're into the Hawaiian look, great stuff. Even Riverside had some very just quaint, it's not, if you want that Disney flair and you're going to pay the Disney price, but you don't want it to be the gimmicky Mickey Mouse stuff, the resorts do have some really cool stuff. My never is any of the art stores.
Oh, really?
I love to walk through them.
Yeah.
Can't afford a lick in there, and it makes me very upset every time I'm in there. Now, could I afford it? Yes. I just don't justify art being that worthy in my home. You see the knickknacks everywhere. But I love walking through there. I love looking. There's a lot of cool things. There's been a couple times where I'm like, ooh, maybe I can buy this. But usually at the end of it, it's just, to me, it's way too expensive, and it's something that I just can't justify.
I kind of have to agree with you on that. And I say it like that because I've got some nice pieces. And the thing is I actually thought I was doing myself a favor. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, we got $100 Disney gift card from a family member for a Christmas present. It's for the intention of buying these 4 panoramic prints, one of each park. They were each $25 a piece for $100. The frames cost me $500 for all 4 of them. So the thing is that you stop and you see a piece of art that's $300 or $400 and it's already framed in a beautiful frame. The fact of the matter is you got to stop and say, that's probably more worth it than you think just because of that darn frame.
Well, Mary and everybody keeps saying there's things under 100. No, I mean, I get that. Like I said, there are plenty of things that I walk in there like, no, Michelle, unfortunately, I can't afford the $20,000 crystal sculpture of the castle. But I know there are $40 prints. I have things under 100. But then you still got to add in getting it home, getting it matted, getting it framed. And, the pencil art stuff is cool. I've got a Buzz Lightyear somewhere in here. My pile of art that's on the floor from D23, super cool. It's just not my flavor. You know what I mean? I like odd ends things, and that to me is just not an odder end.
Yeah. Now, like Alex says here, artists spend a lot of time on them too. Give the credit where credit's due. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No one's saying that they don't do a good job.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's just unfortunately, I guess you could say it's a choice. I do know people that, spend some money on that art and they probably save up year round. I myself, especially being a photographer, I guess you could say in some ways I create my own form of art. And, I'm actually getting, I'm kind of getting some different things together so I can actually put some more of my own art in my room. I do enjoy art from other people, but it's, I'm finally getting to the point where I feel like my photography is getting to that quality where I can say, yeah, this is pretty awesome. So
I do need more popcorn buckets though. You're right.
You do need more popcorn buckets. Okay.
I don't have.
Yeah, Danny needs more popcorn buckets. I could see.
Always need more popcorn buckets. Okay, next topic.
No, wait, never. Oh,
That was
my never.
I thought you were agreeing. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I was agreeing. I was really agreeing, but
I thought that was your never. Okay.
Yeah. This is going to sound kind of funny, and I think you'll understand this, or if nothing else, you'll relate to it. Any pretty much non-Disney related clothing store at Disney Springs. Because
I don't feel like to count that because that really wasn't designed for us. It was designed for the locals.
Well, I don't. It's not even that. It's that there are a lot of people, like there's a lot of stores there that I would have to travel 2 hours to go to anyway. The fact of the matter is that there's a lot of things there that is not anywhere near me. So I would if I would be interested in that kind of clothing or something like that, that'd be great. But I don't have the physique for most of those clothes, so I will bypass those experiences and pretty much just never walk in. I mean, seriously.
Like that Asian Flair store?
The what?
That Asian Flair store?
I mean, that store is really cool.
I love that store. I think it's amazing. I just they don't go past the size medium.
Medium. That's how you call it. Medium.
Medium.
You know, but it's just one of those. It's one of those cases, and it's again, I know there's a lot of people. There's some people that actually don't like how Disney Springs went much more commercial. There are people that don't have a lot of those kinds of stores anywhere near where they live.
Don't make sense. Like, why do you guys have an UGG store?
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense to me. Do Floridians wear Uggs? I did not believe that to be true. It's not really cold enough ever to justify Uggs.
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Next topic. So people would be disappointed in us, bro, if for some reason we didn't hit the topic of food.
Okay.
So let's narrow it down a little bit and let's talk about.
You can break it down, sit down, snack, and quick service. Because we've only done 30 minutes, we could easily do another 30 in those three topics of food.
Oh, but there are other topics as well.
Oh, there are. Okay.
Yes, let's do this. Let's start with table service, and always, sometimes, or never. And the never, by the way, doesn't mean that you've never been there. It could, in this case, mean never again. Okay, so we'll just quantify that. I'll let you go ahead and start us off with your always place that you would love to go to, even though, hey, you may not always get there, but it's always on your top of your list that you always would love to go to. Always.
Start, because I have to think about that. I thought we were starting with the negative, and I had the negative already primed up.
Okay, if you want, we can start with the negative. Go ahead.
Coral Reef. It's disgusting.
Tell everybody why, because
it's so bad. Their food is so duty. It's the atmosphere was terrible. Everything about that experience, and it could have just been an off day for the cook, an off day for the waitress. It could have been just a bad day. Maybe I was too hungry. Maybe I was expecting something, but at the end of the day, it was just horrible. I had such a terrible time. You know, when they tell you it's ragu, and I joked and I said, is it out of a can like ragu? And they're like, no, it's homemade. It's just the way we say it. And then it tastes like ragu out of a can. Now, if that's what you're used to, that's fine. But from 100% Italian, I don't want ragu. You know, so like I said, it could have been my fault for not ordering something safe. And I kind of wanted to go off the rails a little bit, and I wanted to try something a little bit different. One of the first times I had Italian food in Disney, one of the last times I'll ever have Italian food in Disney.
Did you just really use the term duty?
It was
I'm
duty.
sorry. I mean, seriously, last time I heard someone use that, it was Penelope von Schweetz and
well, I mean, I was trying to keep it politically correct.
Yeah, okay. For my never, this is that one. It's actually a little bit tough for me. And I'm going to just basically say it's, generally speaking, it's mainly because it's really not worth it.
The Noodle Cafe.
It would not be fair for me to say that because it's changed. That place is not what it used to be. So I can't. That was always my all-time worst place. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say Tony's.
Never been.
And the thing is, it goes along the lines with your idea of there's no good, no good Italian at Disney, which I think there are some at Italy that's probably a whole lot better than we give it credit for. But Tony's was not impressive enough for me to really want to go back. Would I never, ever, ever, ever? Yeah, I just, it's just nowhere on my radar anymore, and I just leave it like that. Again, it was an okay experience, but it's pasta. I mean, pasta.
Yeah.
Is
one of the topics coming up actual food items, or is this the only food topic?
Oh, we can do food items.
Okay, then I'm gonna have to change my sometimes.
Okay,
food item.
You want me to do your sometimes then?
No, I got it. My sometimes is gonna be a tie because I'll always hit one of these. My tie is between the Polite Pig and Deluxe Burger.
Ooh, okay.
Deluxe has one of the best burgers on property, if not the best burger on property. The reason it does not get my main, sometimes is solely because it's very expensive and nothing comes with it. So sure. I find that to be a little that perturbs me a little bit. Yeah, it's off-putting. So yeah. I move it to the Polite Pig as well, because the Polite Pig, you have because I always get the butcher block, and if you don't have a couple people or you're not really hungry with your significant other or whoever you're with, it's too much food. And to me, it's a lot. It's not a lot of money because you get a lot with it, but if for whatever reason you're just not hungry enough, or they just overcook something a little bit, it can throw off the entire butcher block, and it's happened before. But those two standalones are both amazing, and if I'm super hungry and I'm in Springs all day, I'll go to both. I have no problem doing lunch and dinner.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that, but those are still two very good places. I know that Deluxe Burger, you know what, people's like, hey, it's a burger, you can get a good burger anywhere.
But if you're there for 7 or 8 days, people will say, well, you can have a burger when you get home. Sure. But I want a burger while I'm there. Like, it happens. I get hungry for a specific thing.
I can see that. Okay, so my sometimes, and this was a little bit of a challenge, because I do have a number of places to go that especially for table services. I would probably say my sometimes that I like to go to is like, gosh, and unfortunately I've kind of swapped this in the back of my mind a few times. T-Rex, believe it or not, it's a sometimes type of thing. I've enjoyed going there in the past. It's one of those cases where I think you can get a lot of food, relatively decent value, but I know that they've changed a little bit.
It's just too dark in there for me.
Really? Okay, I can see that. Unless you're
blind, and that was a tough spot for him to go in, so it's always resonated with me. And I don't know, I get kind of freaked out by loud noises at times, and it is dark and it is loud in there. Very cool, especially if you're a kid. Very, very cool, and you're a child at heart like I am. Very cool. The food is solid.
It is.
I wouldn't say great. I would say it's solid, and it's not terribly priced.
No, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I mean, it's you could definitely make worse choices, but yeah, like you said, it's solid. One time I walked in there, and I think I got like this gigantic burger and fries. I mean, it was after a long day of driving. I just wanted to just engorge myself in a good old burger or whatever it was. And one time I had their a pasta dish, and it was really good. Surprisingly, but it's a sometimes thing. What I know, you're going back to the whole pasta thing, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't. What?
All right, so we're gonna go to our always.
Sure, go to your always.
And it's very easy for me, hands down. Boathouse.
Really?
I think it's the best food on property. It is a very, very expensive dinner. if you want it to be. You can go cheap, but if you really want a solid, good, romantic, or nice night out, there is nothing better than the Boathouse. The atmosphere is great. I always recommend people to sit outside. The service has always been wonderful. I guess the only negative you can tag with it is the price point, but once again, it's a fine dining establishment inside Disney. You comes with the territory.
Now, I had lunch there during my July trip, and we both enjoyed it. And I think we would have a different / better experience if we were there for dinner.
Now, yeah, I've only done dinner, so.
But a lot of people are saying, love the Boathouse, love the Boathouse, love the Boathouse. So yeah, it's one of those. It was one of those things where a lot of people are saying it's really good. By the way, while we're speaking of, Italian and stuff, I am going to throw this question up for you to answer for George. He says, Danny, would you say Via Napoli in Italy in Epcot is good Italian? I'm just going to pause here and let you answer that one.
If you're outside of the Chicago, New York, New Jersey area, if you are Italian, but you don't live in one of those 3 states I just said, yeah, I would say it's probably half decent. If you live in those 3 general areas, no, it's not real Italian. So it's not good Italian by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. I think that's probably a good thing because you can get much better Italian, especially if you live in the cities that you mentioned. Gordon also makes the question of, is the Boathouse kid friendly?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
especially for lunch too. I mean, they seem to accommodate younger guests.
I wouldn't bring them to the raw bar out back, but on the dock, I mean, that might be a little risky for a kid back there. There's a lot of liquor and clams and things of that nature. But yeah, the actual restaurant, nah, it's perfectly fine. It's a family restaurant.
Here, little Timmy, here's an oyster and a half shell. And here, let's throw some hot sauce on that.
Yeah.
No. My always. And I know people right now are going to think that I'm going to go to either Cali Grill or I'm going to go to the Yachtsman Steakhouse.
Oh wow, I didn't see you throwing the Yachtsman in there.
Yeah, well, those are my 2 fine dining. When I really can, I do try to go to one of those. But here is like an always, if someone says, hey, meet me at this place, or we have the opportunity to go there, I'm there. And that's Olivia's over at Old Key West.
Really?
I was a big fan of
that one, huh?
Yeah, I'm now granted. Mary mentioned, hey, Mr. Chris, the Wave. Yes, I will say this was a tough one.
I was very unimpressed with the Wave.
Really, you were?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the meal I picked though. The ambiance was very nice.
Do you like seafood?
I do.
You should have tried what I had then.
Then I probably should have. I got the pork chop because I love pork chops, and I was just very unimpressed with the pork chop.
The pork chop looked good, but
it wasn't.
I get your drift. I mean, it's one of those things. But Olivia's, I mean, I'm going to go under the category of anytime I could possibly go, without question, I'll go. Things like the Wave and the Cali Grill and Yachtsman. I have to have some budget for that because I'm going to be dropping, a good $60, $75, $80 a person there type of thing. And so it's not necessarily what my favorite is. This is definitely a place that I'll always go when given the chance. And I've had some great meals, not just breakfast, but also lunch and dinner there as well. It really is a hidden gem. Having a DVC discount there helps. I love staying at Old Key West anyway, so having breakfast there is extraordinarily convenient. So, and Melissa's asking where the Wave is. That's over at the first floor of the Contemporary, right off of the main lobby area where you check in, etc. And Wave, I think, is also really, really solid. I like it. I will say, I have to admit, Danny, both times I've been there this past year, I've had the same thing. They were both consistently really good.
I'm not a big fan of doing that.
You know what? I normally don't do that, to be honest with you.
I do that when I'm at home, but I don't. I try not to do it when I'm away, especially at Disney.
Yeah, I don't normally do that, but for some reason I was so drawn to the dish that I had first time in July. I thought, I'm going to go for it again, and I was equally as impressed with my particular dish,
Sure.
and it was really good. And it's kind of funny because Jerry mentions Olivia's fried chicken with a key lime tart. The fried chicken was fabulous, and the funny part is that one time it was either Saturday or Sunday. No, it was Saturday. We went there for brunch. Let me rephrase that. They had a brunch menu on Saturday, a little bit different. Kathy got the chicken and waffles. And I thought, why are you getting chicken and waffles? This is something that you would never get any other time. She goes, that's exactly why. I never get something like this. I'm going to try it. The fried chicken was just perfect. On top of course, what is traditionally known as a really awesome waffle. And she just absolutely adored that particular dish from them. So that's for food. But
one of the wedding pavilions we're looking at actually offers a to-go thing for chicken and waffles, and I was like, oh. All right, real quick though, I wanted to touch on what Chris had set up here. He said Tutto Italia is a good sauce, not a gravy, but a good sauce. All right, I can respect that, Chris. Hey, Chris, how's Ma doing? Tell her we said hello.
Yeah, absolutely.
With that being said, what is the next topic?
Well, it sounded like you had a request to go a little bit further down the food path. So what specifically did you want to rate in this particular case?
I would like to do not like dinners, just things that what are like just we'll call it snacky things.
Okay. So is this to quantify, is it specifically a snack, or could it be?
It could be an item that you can eat for like a meal, but not like a sit down meal.
Okay, so
I'll show you my example.
Okay, go ahead. Give me one of yours. Tell me which one it is. And
all right, my always.
Mm-hmm.
And I only say it's hard to say. All right, my always, but it's not always and always because I'm not always there. But is going to be the steel cut oatmeal with brown sugar.
Ooh.
You could find it at a couple places. The place that I felt that made it the best was Wilderness Lodge Breakfast. What is their little cafeteria thing called? Their little cafe.
Rolling Forks.
Yes. I ate that. It was like crack. I could not stop eating it. I got seconds some days. It was just so good. It's one of those things where even when I'm at home, when I see steel cut oatmeal, when the minute we got home from Disney, I made Lindsay go out and buy oatmeal. It just was so good with a little brown sugar.
Do you make them like overnight style, or do you cook them?
We've never actually made it. They're still in the pantry. I said I made her go buy it. I never said I ate it.
Fair enough. Okay, so I see where you're going with this.
I can keep going if you want more time to see where.
No, I'm going to go with this because, to tell you the truth, I will say that if I wanted a snacky thing that was kind of a dish, so the funny part is, Mary mentioned the Casey's corn dog nuggets, the loaded ones, and I thought the loaded ones were really good, but I also think they're hard to be a snacky thing. So I'm going to go say regular Casey's corn dog nuggets is going to be kind of if I could do that, if I really wanted to walk around and have a snack, but have it more than just a snack, that's fine.
Okay.
I enjoy that. Hey, listen, I'm a big fan of them. I'm so glad that I never had a chance to try them when they changed the recipe and then they came back and they're still good. So I was really, really, excited to try them out. Granted, I will tell you this, it's not like I'm going to go to Magic Kingdom just to get a snacky thing like that, but I do enjoy them when at the Magic Kingdom. And if I had another choice, I would choose some other different things at some of the other places around the park, but we'll just leave it at that. So what is your sometimes snacky thingy?
So it's another tie for me. The tie is going to be Casey's Corner French fries.
Oh, they are good French fries.
I like the corn dogs, but I prefer the French fries. And my second, because those fries are the closest thing I can ever find to McDonald's French fries.
Okay.
Very close to McDonald's.
I think you're right. I think you're right on that.
And then the tie thing is going to be the Belgian waffle with fresh fruit, whipped cream, and Nutella over at Sleepy Hollow. So good. You got to make sure you ask for the whipped cream. They don't put it on top. You got to ask for it. So good. So full. Now, I like the chicken and waffle, but I still prefer the fresh fruit. And you know what? It's a little bit of a palate cleanser while you're in Disney. I understand it's a waffle, but it's just some fresh fruit in your system. Not a lot of like the deep fried items and things along that nature. So it is a bit of a change of pace for the gut.
I can see that. It's especially when you're talking about eating a whole bunch of other things. I mean, it can be a nice change to get some fruit in, get a little bit of vitamin C in you. The Nutella is obviously a little bit lighter than just sucking back chocolate. You could say that, and if you do whipped cream, you've got a lot of the other food groups with milk. Yeah, right. I'm really stretching it there. I know
you are.
I am. But let's see. For my sometimes, I'm gonna have to. And I'm gonna say it's a tie as well. You did a tie, so I'm gonna do a tie. My sometimes snacky thing, quite honestly, is going to be a tie between Dole Whip. Okay, because I don't always get a chance to get a Dole Whip, although our local ice cream shop does sell Dole Whip,
and it does taste the same. I'm sorry to break it to people. Disney's not special in that aspect.
Well, it's the same mix. I mean, you can buy the mix on Amazon and mix it up at home without any problem. You don't even need any special machines or anything. Just the texture might be a little bit different.
Yeah,
but by the way, little hint that if you actually buy the Dole Whip mix from Amazon or wherever, if you want it to be a little creamier, feel free to use heavy whipping cream.
Really?
And it does come out. It comes out more like ice cream. It's really, really, really good. So Danny disappeared again. But my other item, my other snacky snack item that I would probably say that I sometimes love to enjoy has got to be the ever so famous Mickey Premium Ice Cream Bar. And I completely love but here's the thing. I love the Mickey Premium Ice Cream Bar. I think the closest thing that actually really comes to it around here is if you get the milk chocolate Dove bars around here. The small Mickey ones that like were available in their local grocer's freezer aisle, not quite the same. The Dove bar ones, I think, are closer.
Okay.
So, what is your never? The
churro.
Really?
Listen, the churro's good. It's just usually a little dry, and it's like what, $6, and you get some little duty crappy little size of like chocolate or cheese or whatever. It's just so overpriced. When you think about it, all it is sugar and a little bit of dough, and they're charging that much for it. Like, what did it cost you to make? 3 cents? Come on, like that's silly. Like, there's certain things I understand you're on vacation. I try not to like slam Disney on a lot of things, but I sometimes will sit there and be like that's just not worth it to me. And it's not that it's, like I said, it's not that it tastes bad. It's just one of those things where I walk by, and I did on the last trip. I stopped and I was like, I can go for a churro. Then I stare at the price and I'm like, you're out of your mind. I will not go for a churro this time. Go for the popcorn or an ice cream bar. It's just more filling than a piece of sugar.
I could probably agree with you on that. I mean, in the sense of there are better choices for the money. But you're gonna hit me when you hear what my never is.
Okay.
And the reason why I say this is because I still don't understand how anybody could actually get one of these things as a snack and enjoy it. Okay. I just don't get it. That is the huge dill pickles.
I didn't even know they sold them there.
They used to sell, well, okay. They used to sell them over by Hall of Presidents. They had that
I was gonna say it had to be somewhere in that area. Okay.
Had it there, but they also had them near the exit of Barnstormer. There was like a little snack place where you can get some fruit or some juice, typical,
kitty
kid stuff, but more geared towards, fruit or healthier options.
How big were they?
I mean, they were probably the size of my hand and probably a nice jumbo.
I would have easily bought one and walked around, chomped around on that pub. Now, depending on the price, I'm not paying more than $3 for it. You know what I mean? I'm sure it was more than that.
I can't remember. You know what, to tell you the truth, though, it was very reasonably priced for a pickle, and it was individually wrapped type of thing. But see, my mouth is watering and kind of like puckering at the same time thinking about it, just because it's so tangy. I think it would make me more thirsty. But some people, well, you have said this before, and I think even Jessica has said this before. It's the pickle juice is actually really good for rehydration and replacing of electrolytes, that type of thing. So, now the thing is that Stan wants to try one. He's basically saying there. Alex is talking about the big pickle and juice. And Michelle also makes mention that Disneyland still had the giant dill pickles in 2017. They were over by Splash Mountain. So
if this is true, that's not bad.
What?
I found an article. I don't know how old it is.
Okay.
Give credit where credit's due. It's the Dad's Guide to Walt Disney World's Simple Fun Magic.
Okay.
And it says typically costing anywhere from $1.25 to $2. They're larger than your average pickle, 4 to 6 inches in length and 1.5 to 2 inches in diameter.
Okay, so about the size of my hand, height wise, and a good width around.
I would definitely buy it if I saw it for that. For even $2, yeah, I would buy it for $2.
Yeah, but me, I just couldn't do it. I just don't think I can do it. I like pickles, don't get me wrong, but they're usually with a burger or a hot dog, or sometimes on my hot dog, especially on my burger. Don't get it anywhere near anything Kathy or Virginia or John's eating.
They don't like pickles, huh?
Oh, no.
Where'd we go? The Tusker House or wherever we were that we went to that buffet, me, you, and your family, and I just got a plate full of pickles and waffles.
Yes, and it's like the look on my wife's face is like, ew.
A little salt and pepper on.
So no,
I would drink a water bottle full of pickle juice.
Oh,
pickle juice is so good. I get one of those Camelbacks with pickle juice. Just walk around all day.
Oh, good Lord!
You need a little water to break it, though. To me, it makes me thirsty.
Well, the funny part about it is that I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I can picture you doing that, but you know what would be worse? About 2:00 in the afternoon, I'm going to be walking beside you, and all I smell.
This is going to hear the crunch of me eating a pickle.
Yeah, I'm going to hear you. I'm going to hear the crunch, but I'm going to smell this pickle brine saline coming from your sweat. That's what's going to happen.
During the summer, when I was trying to watch money and watch my weight and everything, I used to, for a snack, I used to go to the dollar store, and I used to buy a jar full of pickles. And I would eat an entire jar on a, what was I working? 10-hour day. I would just pop it open and it would stay in my lunch bag. And whenever I wanted, I'd grab a couple pickles out. At the end of the day, I would drink the rest of the juice. And every day I was eating a full jar of pickles. My doctor said, as long as you don't add salt to it, you're golden. And I was like, sweet.
How could you add salt to pickle juice already?
Oh, I do. Salt and pepper. But that's what was bad for you. So stop doing that.
Are you strictly dill pickle, or do you go into any of the sweet stuff?
No, I like dill. I don't like. Someone bought me as a joke because they knew I love pickles. They bought me one. Yeah, see, I even just asked. I got Nick hooked on that. I told Nick about it, and he was going to the store and buying a full jar and eating, because it's just, sometimes I'm not hungry at work. I'm just bored. And it's just something to keep your jaw going, you know? I ended up, would they get me? The garlic and butter ones or whatever they are.
Right. Like the bread and butter pickles.
They were disgusting.
Too much garlic.
And I love garlic. It just tasted bad. Like your standard old pickle, don't matter. I don't mind if they're pickle chips, spheres, whatever you give me.
Well, okay. I'm gonna leave it at that. And I think with that, I think we're probably coming to a good point in the show to stop right there. But I think one thing is for sure. The whole idea of always, sometimes, and never is going to be different for everybody. As you see, Danny and I had some overlap, but not very much. And the thing is, just because you always do something or always enjoy something doesn't always mean that that's your absolute favorite. It just means that it could be a tradition. It can be something that you really enjoy doing. It might be something out of a matter of convenience. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best, because, the question of whether or not something is the best, it's always a real challenging one for all of us to really, process, because what's going to be the best for me may not be the best for you. I know that tonight we had some people ask some different questions about certain things. And I'll tell you what, if you're new to the show, just to let you know that we do actually read all of our comments from the previous show and we usually respond to things that we couldn't respond to within the next day or two. But we also invite you to present those questions over at the WDW community page, where it's a little bit easier for us to not only answer your questions, but hey, you get to ask that question in a great community that would love to join in that part of the conversation. So Danny, do you got anything else that you'd like to bring up for today, or any special announcements, thoughts, comments, questions, brownie recipes, snide remarks?
A lot of snide remarks for all you people that don't like pickles. Keep an eye out. We are going to be changing the time of our show and possibly the day of our show to accommodate moi. Before the show started, I was sleeping. That's usually a weekly occurrence. And that's also why on most Thursdays you guys don't see me, because I literally will text somebody in the group and be like, who wants to fill in tonight? So keep that in mind. I know Chris had put a poll out there, and like the poll said, just because the number one option it is, we might not pick it. It's what's gonna work best for everybody, but starting with Chris and myself. So we do appreciate everybody, being understanding and being patient. And we understand there's going to be some hiccups and possibly some people lost due to scheduling conflicts. We appreciate everybody and understand that the only reason we're doing this is solely to make the show better and, also not have me miss a lot of shows. So we do appreciate everybody with that. But outside of that, I'm good.
Sounds good. And Danny and I are actually going to be chatting about the finalization of when that new time, day type of thing will be. We will certainly let everybody know. We're going to give people plenty of time to adjust, plenty of fair warning, so to speak. We really do cherish everybody who listens or watches equally. We're really appreciative of all the different feedback that we've received so far. The change will most likely happen right around the 1st of November. So just to kind of keep that in mind, we are still going to produce right now at least 2 shows a week. We're still going to publish them on Tuesdays and Thursdays, most cases. And, by all means, we hope you can join us during the live shows, but we invite you to watch the replays. We invite you to download our podcasts over from Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or wherever you catch your podcasts. So just keep in mind that we will let everybody know when that'll happen. And of course, stay tuned over here on the Behind Ears Podcast Facebook page for more news and information about that change. So Danny, with that, I'm going to press this button, eh?
Cool.
You heard the show, and we hope you want more. Well, feel free to join us over at our social media platforms. Instagram and our Facebook page can be found at Behind the Ears Podcast. Our webpage is behindtheearspodcast.net, and our email is behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @BehindTheEarsPC. And come and join the conversation about all things Disney over at the WDW community page. Don't forget to rate and review the show over at iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as it really helps us get the word out about the show. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or the Podbean app. Also, you can listen to us on Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and via Alexa and Google Home.
Once again, thank you all for joining Behind the Ears Podcast. I'm Uncle Danny. That was Mr. Chris. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. Any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to email us at behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. Trisha would kill me if I didn't mention it. Please join the WDW community Facebook page. And with that being said, we hope you all have a great and wonderful rest of your week. We will talk to you on Thursday. Don't forget, tuck your kids in tight, wear your seatbelts, and hey, drink that pickle juice. I am Uncle Danny. Until next time.
And I'm Mr. Chris. I'm now thirsty. That's not good. But hey, listen, thanks everybody for joining us. We love you guys, and we thank you so much for making us, a top-rated and fan favorite show. And by all means, until we meet again, we hope you have an absolutely magical day. Take care.